Richard Lorenzen is the CEO of Fifth Avenue Brands, a public relations firm advising clients in finance, technology, public policy on media relations, and also crisis management. And with me is Richard. Great to have you back here at the Nasdaq. So I'm so curious what your thoughts are on if companies should take stands on political issues. We have seen so much of that lately. I know companies, a lot of them tried not to. They were under pressure to do it. It hasn't worked out well for some. What do you say to your clients?
Well, we're in an interesting environment right now. Where obviously, especially here in the U.S., but also around the world, we're in a political climate that's more divisive, more divided than it's been in recent modern history, certainly.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure on companies to take some of these stances, but there's also more risk than there has been in recent periods. At the same time, customers are looking to companies for leadership on some of these issues more than they ever have before for a lot of issues. So leaders of these companies need to really think about who their audience is and the issues that matter to those audiences, and look for those issues where they believe that they can use their platform to take a stand that they think can make a meaningful difference. And they need to do a lot of listening to their employees, to their customers, to the different communities that they serve, to figure out where they would be better served and where that issue and their audience would be better served by them taking a public stand on one of those issues, and where it doesn't make as much sense. And so it's a very difficult decision.
It really
There are a lot of risks involved.
Yeah.
But it's something that CEOs and C-suites are having to grapple with more than they have been in recent times.
Have you seen anybody do it well? I think
there are a lot of companies that do it well. Again, I think the ones who do it well are the ones who are listening and proactively reaching out to customers or reaching out to employees, to the community, and they're figuring out those issues that are important to them, so that they're not taking a stand on an issue for the sake of taking a stand, for the sake of getting social credit or whatever you may want to call it for advocating for those issues. But instead, they're looking at the issues where they can truly make a difference with their platform. And they're doing it in a way that's strategic and where it's not just lip service, so to speak, and they're actually taking action that can deliver.
And almost kind of, I feel like some of these companies almost kind of panicked a little bit and,
Sure.
And just got involved in something, and then maybe we're like, gosh, maybe we shouldn't have done that.
There's a lot of pressure. There's
For
a lot
sure.
of pressure to take a stand.
What are the big challenges that are facing companies' reputations these days?
Well, one of them is the fact that, and this isn't necessarily new, but it's accelerating, is that bad news, as we all know, spreads faster than it has before, obviously, the period of technology and social media. And as technology advances, that's only continuing to accelerate and exacerbate. And so companies really need to be proactive in having a plan in place to respond to those sorts of situations before they actually need to do it. The time to be building out your crisis management plan is not when you're in the midst of a crisis.
Right.
Don't build a plane while you're flying it, and so that's something that is certainly going to be a challenge. To compound that issue, we also have disinformation and, for example, bots, social media bots, and networks of bots who are contributing to that news spreading even faster and accelerating, and at the same time also creating opportunities for manufactured attacks on brands through coordinated networks of bots. And so companies really need to think about how they're going to respond to that. And again, they need to be proactive in doing it before the time actually comes to
I love that idea. Have a plan in place before there's a crisis.
Exactly.
Like, I think about Southwest over the holidays, and they had that kind of meltdown, and people couldn't get a flight and they couldn't get a rent-a-car, and it really kind of grew into this big problem for them. And I don't know what their social media plan was, but there was a lot of complaints on social media about them over that time. So
I think it's underestimated, especially because of how quickly technology evolves and accelerates. It's underestimated how quickly some of these things can kind of catch fire and spread. And so you don't want to be caught behind that 8 ball.
So how do companies build trust? You kind of hinted at it a little bit, listen to your customers. How can they really develop trust in this kind of very volatile, uncertain world that we're in right now?
Yeah, you have to be proactive. Again, don't build the plane while you're flying it. The time to build trust is not when you need it, it's before you need it. You need to know your message, and you need to know your audience, and you have to be proactive in communicating to the audience and doing it frequently and consistently. And if you're doing that and you're doing it well and you're communicating a message that resonates, and you're paying attention to where that audience is consuming their media, and you're meeting your audience in those places, that's the first step to building that trust, so that you can draw on it in times when you need it.
I think it was somebody asked Jeff Bezos once, how did you become so successful building Amazon? And he's like, I just listened to the customer.
Yep.
It was just all about the customer experience. It wasn't all this extraneous stuff. He just really tried to build a good product that was easy to use, easy to understand. They delivered what they promised they would. And so that worked for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listen and communicate as well. Don't create a vacuum of information for those bots to fill.
So what is your outlook for not just PR, but the overall economy for 2024?
Well, I think that we're in an interesting kind of economic landscape right now, where you have rates that have accelerated at a very quick pace, and are now at the highest level that they've been at in probably about 25 years. Mm-hmm. At the same time, GDP has continued to grow. The labor market hasn't shown many signs of softening yet. And so we're kind of in this limbo where a lot of leaders are, they're anticipating some sort of a slowdown, which does appear likely, whether it's in the next 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, they're anticipating that slowdown. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's a very predictable and unpredictable environment, because we're sort of waiting to see when the impacts of that drawdown in liquidity are going to take place in the market. So.
Yeah, there's I feel like a lot of cross currents going on. The job market's starting to slow down. We've still got the stock market higher, but there's some signs of slowdown. So it's not quite, again, uncertainty. That seems to be the theme over the past few years.
Yep.
So, well, Richard, thank you so much. It is always great to get your insight into this, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.